Welcome to Chapter 7 of the Chord Wheel Progression Prompter Overview. In this chapter, we're going to try to put it all together. The key color row block 8 format, the harmonic divergence icons, and we're going to try to go through a couple of progressions at a very high level and talk about how we might play over these. Now, I'm not trying to tell you how to solo, recommend scales and things like that. I'm leaving those interpretations up to you. I'm just going to show you how having these roadmaps is a great help. Let's put what we've learned into practice. We'll start with How High the Moon, a progression we've looked at several times already. Now, when I look at this, I would love to tell you that I can immediately see all the 2-5-1s, all the modulations crystal clear, but I just can't. However, when I look at it like this, it becomes obvious to me how this progression is moving and how I'm going to play over it. I can immediately see I'm going to start off in the key of G major here for a couple of measures, and then I'm going to go downward an entire step and modulate to F major and do another 2-5-1. Then I'm modulating down another entire step and doing another 2-5-1, this time in the key of 3 flats. From there we go grayscale and we've got a 2-5-1 in the key of G minor. Of course, when we get to the 1, I'm going to get out of harmonic minor and I'm going to move back into either playing it as a 3 in the key of 3 flat, or I'm going to play it as a 2 in the key of 1 flat. Then we're back to another 2-5 in G harmonic minor, but this time instead of tonicizing a G minor, it's tonicizing a G major. From there I move into a 2-5, not a 2-5-1, a 3 is a common substitution for the 1 though, and that's where I get that chromatic passing chord, and I've got to make sure I pay attention to that. From there the progression moves to a 2-5 in the key of G major, and it starts again with the B section, which is very similar. How about I've Got Rhythm? We've been looking at this progression for a little bit. If I look at this, I don't exactly see how I'm going to follow these changes readily, but boy, I do now. We start off in the key of B flat, or 2 flats. Pretty standard, except for that C minor 7, we're throwing in a 5 chord from the C harmonic minor. So what we're doing there is just tonicizing that C minor, but notice the D minor before it is not a flat 5, it's just a regular D minor. So the 2 is actually in parentheses because it's not truly the 2-5-1 in C minor. So both the D minor and C minor 7 of that minor 2-5-1 are actually in a different place. So this is the only one I have to be really careful of when I play. From there we go into a section which is giving us 2 consecutive 1 counters. But we know what that means. That means it's a dominant cycle. We've moved from F7 to B flat 7 to E flat 7. Now it's interesting to note from this particular element here that we do have a chromatic bass movement from the D to E flat to E to F. However, our bass player will be taking care of that, so if I'm soloing, I'm more worried about this little section right here. Moving from the A flat, the E flat 7-5, back up to the B flat, or you could look at it as the F7. But how am I getting there? I'm getting there through a chromatic passing chord. So in between the E flat and the F, the bass note of the B flat over F, there is an E. And playing that as a diminished chord or playing that as a dominant 7th is very common. So here this E diminished 7th is a very well-known, expected chromatic passing chord that I can keep an eye out for. Now when I think about this progression, I go to the B section. I know how to play through this. This is simply a dominant cycle. And then the A section ending is very similar to the A section on top, so I can play through this progression fairly easily now. How about Cherokee? We've been looking at this one. Once again, if I lay it out like this, I can't see the progressions. But now I see it. So to play Cherokee, I'm going to start off with a B flat major 7. When I hit the F7, which is a 5, I'm going to make sure I highlight that sharp 5 so that I really make the progression sound like it's Cherokee. From there, I do a counter 1 and I do a 2-5 to tonicize that E flat major 7. And I land on that. I can consider it a 4, but at the same time in the back of my mind, I'm seeing that that's a 2-5-1 in the key of 3 flats. So I could also play that E flat major as a 1 if I wanted to, but more readily it's a 4. Coming up after that, I see a whole different color in it. This is called a backdoor progression. We haven't talked about that. I'll touch on it very quickly here. Let's go to the chord wheel and talk about what a backdoor dominant is. First, let's talk about it the easy way. If you take any key that you're in this case we're in the key of 2 flat, or B flat major. The normal dominant is the F7. If you take this chord right here and make it a 7th chord, it becomes the backdoor dominant, the A flat 7. So that's the easy explanation. But what is the technical explanation? I want you to look at the little key down here at the bottom left of the chord wheel. It shows that the 6 is the relative minor. You might have heard that term before in terms of relative minor. So in the key of B flat major, the relative minor is G minor. So you could play these chords as a G minor. The parallel minor, if this is the relative minor, the parallel minor is the key that the B flat is the 6 is a B flat minor. That happens to be 3 clicks on the chord wheel. 1, 2, 3. It takes us to here. See how the 6 is now a B flat minor? And what is the dominant 7th there? It's an A flat 7th. If you wanted to, you could put the 2 in front of that and go E flat minor, A flat 7. And instead of taking it to here, you take it back to where you were. And that's the backdoor progression. Back to our progression, the A flat 9 backdoor, of course, goes to the 1. From there, we go to a 1 clock. We're going clockwise instead of counterclockwise this time, and we're at C7. So we've talked about the C7th already. It's the dominant 7th of a 2, but in this particular case, I'm going to be ready to play the C7th arpeggio or some of those other chord tones before I move back into the C minor 7th, which is, of course, in the key of 2 flat. The C minor theoretically goes for 3 measures, but in the middle, we temporarily go up there and give it a C harmonic minor tonicization. So I play a 2-5. Of course, that's a D minor 7 flat 5, G7 flat 9 like we expect, which tonicizes that C minor 7 to make it sound even more like it belongs. And then we finish off with another F7, but this time with, of course, with the sharp 5. So we make sure we highlight that sharp 5. After repeating the A section, I get ready in the B section and move up a half step. There's a 2-5-1 in the key of B. And then I move down an entire step for another 2-5-1. Move down a step yet again for another 2-5-1. From there, I move down another step and do a 2-5 in the key of F. But instead of hitting the F, I go 1 counter, and I'm back at my main progression in terms of B flat, playing a 2-5, of course paying special attention to that sharp 5. So that's how I can play Cherokee. Of course, all this is difficult because you're playing this at a very fast clip, but with chord progression prompters, I can play Cherokee. Once again, these progression profiles are not to be considered the only correct analysis of the tunes. Others might have different interpretations, and there may also be some mistakes. If you notice something that you believe might be better notated or analyzed differently, just let me know. And of course, if you have any questions, you're also free to drop me a line, and I'll do the best I can to respond. Well, with that, we've reached the conclusion of the Chord Wheel Progression Prompter overview. After all this, I hope you're anxious to grab your instrument of choice, open up a course, and get playing along to some of your favorite songs. Enjoy.